I don't know how that died. It wasn't on my side. Like, it was definitely not on my side. Welcome back, everyone. Just hit reload. It should be back now. Alcove, thank you very much. I'd really appreciate that. Yeah, but I do need braces. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. It wasn't on my side. It was just Twitch having a fit. Because on my side, it said the stream was going well. Like, the stream was doing what it was supposed to do. And then just suddenly everyone started effing in chat. So, I have no fucking idea what this was. Show teeth? I mean feet? No. Oh my god. People are weird. By the way, I have some videos that I want to watch. At least one video that I've been putting off for a while now.
Massively multiplayer online game.
You guys know who Josh Strife Hayes is, right? Should I just finish my chocolate without thinking? Nice. Reacalon. Yeah, let's get some reactions going in this bitch. Why is this happening? Okay, never mind. All right. This is the 7 deadly sins of MMO design. Number 1, lust, gender locking. I've been wanting to watch this for a while, and I keep forgetting.
Massively multiplayer online games, one of the greatest genres ever created. Hundreds of games, thousands of hours, and millions of players. The online gaming world is busier now than it's ever been before, and the range of games available means no matter what kind of adventure you want to have, you will be able to find it. But these games aren't without their flaws, so in this series, let's examine the 7 deadly sins of MMO design. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I'm Josh Strife Hayes. I've been playing and analysing MMO games on YouTube for several years now, and over that time I've come to notice some constants in the development cycle, small things that even big games can do, which really damage the overall experience. So let's analyse the first.
Is there, like, just quick question, is there really that many MMOs that still do gender locking? I mean, I know that gender locking was a thing, like, way back, and there's even been single player games, like proper RPG single player games where you have certain classes or things that's just locked behind a gender that you can do shit with. But I want to say that it's no longer as prevalent as it used to be.
Sin of MMO gaming: lust, or gender locking. Before we begin, please consider dropping a like on the video or subscribing to the channel and ringing the bell so you don't miss a future video. A massive thank you to all of my supporters on Patreon and Twitch who make all my content possible. Right, let's begin. The first of the 7 deadly sins: lust. Extreme desire for something, a deep craving for a specific thing. Most people associate that craving with sex, but it can mean other things. Objects, positions of power, respect, authority. Lust is the pull and push of wanting something. For MMO design sins, I'd compare the lust for sex as the enforced gender locking or gender restricting of abilities and classes within games. It is the lust a developer has for wanting you to look a certain way if you want a certain gameplay experience.
I would say, so if we're gonna pull this to World of Warcraft, I would say my problem with this, because what he's explaining makes sense, right? As the developer, you have a specific image in mind or an idea of how the players should be playing something and what they should be doing. Like, you want to enforce this idea. For WoW, I would say this is the race locks that exist within factions. So if you want to be Alliance, you have to be one of the races that is Alliance. Now, I get that there is a lore reason why this exists, but lore can be changed, lore can be adapted. So I've been a fervent supporter for a while now of the race restrictions being lifted in World of Warcraft. I feel like you should be able to choose an orc, but decide that you align more with the Alliance than what you do with the Horde, and that way I believe you get more out of it. So in World of Warcraft, I would say that the last factor here is the race locking.
Let me explain. In an MMO, there are two major design elements: the superficial, which we'll refer to as the visual, and the mechanical. And while these two should always work in harmony with each other, they should not directly affect each other. The visual should remain separate from the mechanical. When you create your character, you are making visual choices: your hair color, your skin color, your height, your eye color, what color clothes you want to start wearing. Some games let you choose a specific voice for your character. And while the vocal element...
I think that's a good point, Zigzags. Again, right, we go to, yes, there are lore reasons why certain races can't be certain things in World of Warcraft, and to some extent that makes sense. But lore can be changed, lore can be rewritten, and I believe that I think you hurt the game more by having those restrictions in the game rather than just changing the lore, right? So why can't pandas be warlocks? Well, the lore right now states that pandas have such a deep love for life and for nature and for home and for family that they would simply not dive into the foul. But surely all pandas are not the same. Surely there could exist a faction within the pandas, right, that doesn't give a fuck about any of those things, and they just want to do some evil shit, and they want to be warlocks. Draenei is a good example of this, right? Yes, sure, most Draenei went through the whole foul experience, and they realized that foul is a bad thing. But if you look at what warlocks do, warlocks have learned how to control the foul, right, in order to fight for good. It would appear to me that that would be something that Draenei would be very much drawn towards, right? Rather than just going, no thanks, they would be drawn to it. So I feel like World of Warcraft is set in such a rigid way of thinking around the factions, the race locks behind the factions, and also just the class lock that exists behind the different races, that it sort of removes people's ability to just have fun and play the game that they want to play. Which is, I think, you see, the thing with MMOs is in many ways, they're supposed to be the ultimate RP experience. They're not always the ultimate RPGs, right? Because most of the time, RPGs... you can't really be a proper RPG and be an MMO. There's always going to be things that you're going to have to give up. But an MMO truly should allow for a player to play the way that they want to play, and only the way that they want to play. And it should have as few restrictions as humanly possible, which if you look at Blizzard's entire game design philosophy, they don't give a fuck about that. They are just hardlining it, doing the things that they want to do, and screw the player. Right? We don't care if the player wants to do this. This doesn't fit into our game.
Element of the game is technically audio. We'll tie it together under the visual design term for now. These choices are personal preference. They're how you want to appear to both yourself and others. They are how you want to be presented and to be perceived. They are purely aesthetic, and they allow you to appear as you wish to appear. This could be considered the colour you choose to paint the outside of your house. Then the other type of gameplay design is the mechanical. This is how the game actually plays, the moment-to-moment input and output from your controller or keyboard to the on-screen character. How you walk, run, roll, jump, climb, swing, fight, loot, heal, shoot a bow, swing a sword, chop a tree, open a bank, talk to another player. If the visuals were the colour you want your house, the mechanical is the internal layout of your house and how you actually live within it. If you were to play a purely mechanical game with no visual design elements, you'd have a lot of wireframe models in a wireframe world, but the gameplay wouldn't actually change. You'd still be moving in the same way, casting the same spells, and interacting with the same systems. The mechanical is all the game is, and the visual is all the game looks like. Now we know what these two major areas are, we can look at why crossing them is bad. The visual choices you make for the outward design of your character are all done to allow you to...
No, but the fact that they need to be a specific race to play a said class, in my opinion, that restriction actually adds more to the RPG part of the game than it harms it. Nikas, I don't agree. And the forums disagree with you as well. Reddit disagrees with you as well. I spend my time on the forums and on Reddit, and I can tell you the amount of posts from people being annoyed because they want to be Alliance because all their friends are Alliance, but they actually love the Orcs, or they love the Tauren. So they're forced to play a different race than the race that they wanted to play because they want to play with their friends. It's actually far bigger than you think. And also, it doesn't make sense. Can you explain? Okay, Nikas, quick question. Please explain the difference between the Horde and the Alliance. I'll give you 5 minutes. Explain the difference between the Horde and the Alliance. From an ideological perspective, from how they do things, what's the difference? The answer is there is none. There is zero difference between the Horde and the Alliance. So the enforcement of different races for the Horde and the Alliance is useless. Doesn't matter. So, no. There is zero argument that you can make that says it adds to the RPG. What fucking RPG? The Horde wants peace, the Alliance wants peace. Oh, I feel so enthralled in the story of peace. If we were having this conversation 15 years ago, I would say, yeah, you're right. The Horde wants war, the Alliance wants a different kind of war. They believe different things. They have different viewpoints. They have genuine differences. Nowadays, there's no difference. So what RPG? The one that you made up in your own mind? You can still have that and play an orc on the Alliance side. You can still make up your own fucking story.
To express yourself, the freedom of colour, design, height, age, gender, style. It's a personal dress-up show where you get to be who you want to be. And then the mechanical decisions, such as the class and the way you actually play the game, let you decide how you mechanically want to experience the world. In both cases, you are free to choose what you like the look of, and then what you like the play style of. You have been fully in control and happy with both of these major choices. But what if, in order to make a specific mechanical choice, you had to also agree to a visual choice too? What if, in order to be a wizard, you have to set all your clothing colour to grey all the time? While that may be a designer's idea of what they want a wizard to look like, it's not your idea. It's not your wizard. What if you could only be an archer or use a bow if you also had long blonde hair? What if you could only use a sword and shield if you chose a specific skin colour? What?
Tell me everything he's saying here. You don't immediately go, yeah. Why is it that in order to be Alliance or in order to be a human mage, I have to also be Alliance? Stormwind has to be my capital, right? If you start to think about it that way round, you do start to realize that this makes very little, if any, sense. None of this actually makes sense. Thrall, like, look, Thrall and Sourfang, they're like token fucking Alliance NPCs at this point. Like they legitimately they may as well be Alliance at this point. Well, Sourfang's dead, but he was Alliance literally at the time of his death. It would have been more fitting to have Sourfang's funeral in Stormwind.
What if you could only trade with other players if you also had blue eyes? Imagine if making a physically taller character gave you more health, or playing as a super thin character meant healing potions healed you more, or playing as a fat character reduced your stamina permanently, or not giving yourself muscular arms meant you couldn't use certain weapons over a...
To be fair, right? What he's saying here, I have often thought would be interesting. It wouldn't be balanceable, and it would basically just create a meta where people would create the optimal character for every single thing. But in terms of full-blown, and this is, by the way, where we get to Nikas's point of view, where it's an RPG thing. In terms of RPG, right? So if we wanted to focus purely on the RPG in World of Warcraft, Tauren would run slower than every other class. They would just be slower. Tauren would most likely be far stronger than most classes. Orcs would be stronger than humans. Basically, almost every class on the orc side, except for the elves, would be far stronger than anything that you can roll on human. Right? Elves.
Have a dumpling.
I think one of the arguments against those restrictions is how special the player character is. How many warlocks can use the Scepter of Sargeras? Almost only Gul'dan the player.
Zixix, the thing is, the player isn't the player doesn't matter, right? The player character hasn't mattered for a long time, so I don't think that really is an argument about anything. The thing for me is, because that would be full on RPG, right? If we were to go full on RPG, if you were playing a warrior or anything that needed strength, you would almost guaranteed have to go Orc or Tauren, because they would be the strongest characters in the game. Tauren would be slower than any other character, so basically they would arrive at the fight when the boss is already dead, because they're moving slow as fucking balls. Blood Elves would probably be the best at magic use in the game, and they would be able to use magic better than any other class. Draenei would most likely be far stronger in the light, so if you wanted to be a priest or you wanted to be a paladin, Draenei would almost guaranteed have to be the thing that you go for. At the end of the day, yes, that would be super RPG, right? That would really make the game very, very RPG. But it would also mean that no one wants to fucking play the game. Because in order to be a warrior, I have no choice but to roll an Orc or a Tauren. If I want to run fast, I can't be a Tauren, right? So at the end of the day, those are trade-offs that you would have to make in order to dive into what would be called the full RPG experience. You can't do those things because they would be unbalanced, completely unbalanced. Yeah, but you can't ignore the balance part of the game, so we have to meet somewhere in the middle. Nikas, but somewhere in the middle is not locking people out of their choices. I don't agree with that. I personally, my personal, perfect game would be remove the race restrictions from faction so people can choose whichever faction they want to go to, and highlight the differences between the factions once more. So, for example, if you want to go with the Alliance being full-blown peace, then let them be for peace. But then turn the Horde into, full-blown warlike want to conquer Azeroth. That way, players have a clear decision that they make. If I'm going to roll a Tauren, I have a choice. I'm either going to join the bloodthirsty or Horde, or I'm going to join the peace-loving Alliance. But that's the choice that I'm going to make. Or you make it so that the Alliance is for the light and the Horde is for the void, right? And that's a clear choice. So there's now a clear difference between it. And when I'm choosing my faction, I'm choosing my faction based on the difference between the factions, not based on the race that I want to play. Because these days, literally, the reason people choose certain race or factions actually has to do with where their friends play, or the character that they want to play. It has nothing to do with the faction. The factions don't really exist. They should not have to exist at this point. I completely share the idea the faction should be united in some way, and I'm quite sure the devs are already working out a way to do that. The thing is, I don't quite like is the race class restrictions, because they make sense to me. They don't make sense at all. They don't make sense at all. You should be allowed to play whatever the fuck you want to play, regardless of... So the problem with saying it makes sense to you, right, is it makes sense because it's been that way for such a long time. right? That's why it makes sense. And I agree with you. There are certain classes and races that, for example, a rogue Tauren would be weird. But this is where we have to ask ourselves the question, is weird a reason not to give people full control over their own fantasy? If someone wants to be a Tauren rogue, let them be a Tauren rogue, right? Because at the end of the day, it would be funny as fuck. I'm going to be straight up. If I saw a Tauren rogue in stealth, fucking stealthing its way to the boss, I would laugh. It would be funny. It would be a moment that I would want to see again. The fact of the matter is, sometimes you have to allow fantasy to win out. And that's what I believe. I believe that fantasy is, to my mind at least, more important than any sort of arbitrary restriction on it.
Certain weight. Imagine if you couldn't eat certain food items if you gave your character a specific voice. Do you see how ridiculous those gameplay factors sound? It's because you're mixing a visual choice with a mechanical one. It's an absurd limitation. And yet it happens in many games through gender locking. In certain games, you cannot play certain classes unless you are also the correct gender or race. In Terra, if you want to be a gunner class, that's a heavy gun using DPS, you must be a female, and for your race, you must choose either a High Elf, Castanic, or Ellen. If you want to be a ninja, that's a super speedy burst DPS class, or a Reaper, the dual chain axe using sustained DPS class, you must play as an Ellen, a race of female-only young girls that look about 12. Terra isn't the only example. Black Desert Online locks basically all of its classes and simply gives the male and female styles different names. The Black Desert Online example annoys me personally because the character creation in Black Desert Online is so incredibly good apart from that one bit. The amount of customization you have of...
I feel like sometimes this is one of the biggest problems in game design, as far as I'm concerned, is sometimes you allow for, like, the developer has this vision, right? But at no point, and this is something we've discussed with WoW many a times, at no point do the developers actually stop to ask why. Right? So sure, okay, you want to make a class or a race restriction or whatever the case might be. Why? What will this achieve in the long run? Is this something that is centered to our game? It's something that pisses me off so much in World of Warcraft when they do things and you sit there and you look at this and you go, this thing doesn't make sense. It's not really centered to the game. So why are you doing it? I think the restrictions are good, but there should be the option to do a questline to unlock and break restrictions. You could even do that, although I would say that's actually jumping, like, you're pushing the player to do unnecessary things, which in reality, like, it should just be open, you know?
Available to you is phenomenal. It's insanely detailed. You can create your ideal face shape. The visual design freedom you have is immense, and then the mechanical choices you have are essentially halved by the gender you have chosen. Many people may argue that it doesn't matter whether you're male or female or anything else in real life, you can just choose the class you...
I just want to say, if you're not a 12-year-old girl and you're playing this class, someone should call the fucking cops. Like, something is fucking wrong here. Not only that, but if you're telling me, right, that this character made the most sense for Reaper or Ninja, I'm calling bullshit. I'm calling fucking bullshit. Look at these weapons. It's the size of the player, like, of the character. There's no way that this character wields these weapons without falling over 2 seconds later.
Like and play it, and that's true. But remember, the reason MMOs have character creation and visual freedom at all is to allow you as a player to create your own virtual avatar. Some people like to see this avatar as a representation of themselves in the game world. Some people like to consider their avatar a separate entity with its own personality, and some just see the game interface entirely as a purely mechanical way to engage with the game. If you're purely a mechanical player and don't care for visuals, then yes, you will be happy playing whatever race or whatever gender you have to play to access a certain style. But if you're a player who values visual freedom and creating yourself, and then you also want to experience the gameplay mechanics of a certain class, imagine how much it would suck being told, nope, you can't be that because you've got the wrong genitals. MMOs are fantasy games, they're escapism from the real world, and they have complete freedom to remove all the barriers people often face in the real world. So to place a limitation on your mechanical gameplay experience based on your visual appearance seems like a completely pointless block. I know why developers do it, it's so they can limit the animation time to only having to program.
Someone developed this fucking character. Someone sat there and developed this character and thought to themselves, this is hot. I'm sorry, but fuck my life. Oh my god.
And develops specific animations for certain classes or certain genders, but it is still remarkably lazy. In the virtual world, you look how you want to look, and you play how you want to play. These two systems should be independent of one another to allow for maximum player customization and maximum player immersion. If you want to play an archer with red hair, you should be able to. A brown-eyed sorcerer? Absolutely. A light-skinned wizard? Fine. A female machinist? Go for it. A male bard? Why not? A dark-skinned warrior? Be my guest. A tall ninja? Okay. A short samurai? Also okay. Visual design elements allow you as a player to present your own fashion and style and sense of self to the online world and let other players look at you and say that is how they like to look.
I feel like what people should remember when it comes to games in general, right? Specifically RPGs, whether it be MMO or single player, it is always an expression of the self, right? And this could be an expression of the sum of your totality or a part of your totality, right? So someone can roll a Tauren and not feel like a cow, but maybe there's a portion of them that likes this, that wants to be represented as this thing, right? And so all of this entire video can be boiled down to one fundamental fact. Games are about self-expression. It is one of the cleanest ways to express one's own sort of inner view. And as soon as you restrict that, as soon as you place arbitrary restrictions on it, you're effectively telling the player that how they wish to express themselves is not welcome. And while, you know, I don't think specifically the race and gender locks in World of Warcraft removes from the game or destroys the game, I do think it leaves a large number of the player base, sometimes with choices that may be considered suboptimal, right? This is not necessarily the choice that they would have gone for if they had a choice, if they could have been something. So I'll tell you, for example, I was very, very pissed off when I learned that Zandalari trolls will not be allowed to be warlocks. When I found out that that's going to be a restriction, because I was so fucking hyped for Zandalari troll. They're trolls, but better. And then I found out that I won't be able to be a warlock as a Zandalari troll, and I was livid. I was absolutely fucking pissed off about it, because why not? What is this restriction? It makes no sense. And then Blizzard came up with some bullshit lore reason for why they can't be warlocks. And I made a video back in the day calling bullshit. Like, I literally showed in the game how there is troll warlocks. Like, yes, they're enemies of the Zandalari, but they're warlocks. So it means that the Zandalari have accepted the foul. The Zandalari have the ability to accept the foul. So why can't I be a fucking warlock? It's arbitrary. It doesn't add to the game. Instead, it takes away from the game.
Then the mechanical choice lets you choose how you want to experience the world. They let you as a player press keys and buttons in the order you most enjoy. These are two separate systems, and whenever a game tries to lock one behind the other or have one interact with another in a limiting way, the only possible result is player frustration. Imagine if a game advertised itself as a game where only women can learn the cooking skill and only men can learn the first aid skill. That game would get rightfully blasted apart. So why do we...
Can you imagine in modern day, in the modern day set or setting that we find ourselves in, a game came out and said, only fucking women can be cooks. Like, you can't learn cooking as a man, and you can't learn engineering as a woman. So imagine if WoW did that, right? Imagine if WoW said, hey, men can no longer cook, and women can no longer be engineers. This is our decision. This is what we decided to play into whatever. It would be fucking hell, bro.
Accept it from gender-locked classes. The first sin of MMO development. Lust, the gender discrimination within games where visual choices affect mechanical gameplay. It sucks, and it's got to go. Thank you for watching. Another...
Agreed. I liked this video. I liked it. Engineering should be restricted to only goblins and gnomes. The problem with that is it's not just goblins and gnomes. Children should be able to cook themselves into premium steak. Oof. That would be a bit weird. That'd be a fucking bit weird. The next video he has in this series we'll watch in a bit. It's called Gluttony Feature Creep. And it actually has a picture of World of Warcraft on it. So I think that's going to be very, very interesting. Before we do that, though, I do have a discussion for all of you. Something that I've been thinking about for a while now. And I even tweeted about it this afternoon. And most of you, if you've been part of the channel for a long time, you will know that this is a thought that I've had for some time. The Eternal Ones. So right now, looking at the Eternal Ones, trying to figure out what it is that puts me off about the Eternal Ones. So I'll start with the premise for this discussion. I do not trust the Eternal Ones, and I haven't trusted the Eternal Ones ever since they were introduced to us. Now, let's get the first thing out of the way. The first sort of maybe why I don't trust the Eternal Ones. It could be because of bad writing, right? So it could be that because of how rushed Shadowlands felt, and maybe I should explain what I mean with rushed. I'm not saying that when the story started, Blizzard were in a rush and they were sort of trying to paint over a bunch of things. I feel as if Shadowlands should not have been the next expansion after BFA. This has been my feeling pretty much since we got into the Shadowlands. It doesn't feel like anything in the Shadowlands was set up enough in a way where I knew what I was getting into before I got into it. Instead, Shadowlands felt like I got dropped into a story where I was trying to figure out why this story should matter to me. At the same time, they're trying to make it very emotional. Like, they're trying to connect me emotionally to the story, but I'm still trying to figure out whether or not I need to be connected to the story in the first place. There was very little setup or exposition for almost any of the Eternal Ones. Zuval, to this day, has had zero exposition. I feel like after the Shadowlands, they could actually have an expansion now that includes the Eternal Ones, and I would be able to make up my mind about how I feel about the Eternal Ones. Yet I'm still stuck trying to figure out whether or not I should give a shit about any of this, right? I'm told, hey, you should worry, Zuval wants to destroy the Shadowlands, and I'm still going, really though? Like, don't know if I care about that. How about you explain to me why? Okay, so it could just be due to bad writing. But let's imagine that it's not due to bad writing. So let's imagine that the reason I don't care about the reason I don't trust the Eternal Ones is because of Blizzard's writing. They've decided actively to write the story in such a way that I shouldn't trust them. Why is that? Well, let's start sort of at the top. For pretty much a year now, since we've learned about Zuval, he's been the only Eternal One that I have trusted, because he's the only Eternal One that said things that I agreed with. As I've already explained, because I didn't know anything about the Shadowlands, I was introduced to this world where we are effectively used as kindling for this endless churn, this machine that just keeps churning and churning. And it felt like we, the mortals, our souls, our anima, is the fuel that keeps this sort of thing pumping. And Zuval came in and he said, I want to destroy the entire cycle. And I was like, I trust that. Because I also don't like this cycle. I don't like this idea of, upon my death, I will be placed in eternal servitude to, whatever fucking place the Arbiter feels I should be going. So, yeah, let's break the cycle. Of course, we've since learned that, no, he has a whole different plan in mind. That he wants to destroy the universe or the cycle, but he wants to do it by simply, basically enslaving us anyways. Just so that the cycle doesn't have to exist anymore. So, yeah, I think it's pretty obvious why Zuval can't be trusted anymore. But let's go to Carestia the Firstborn. Why do I not trust Carestia the Firstborn? Why? And I want to be clear when we get into this topic. I don't have any specific answers. That's what makes this topic so much fun to me to discuss, because I am genuinely discussing it with all of you. Because maybe you have the answers, because I don't necessarily understand why. I just know I don't. Carestia the First One sets up this realm, and if we are to believe what the brokers and the other beings in the Shadowlands say, every single zone in the Shadowlands was created, designed, and functions the way that their Eternal One wanted them to function. So Carestia the Firstborn builds this realm where basically all people are enslaved, their memories are stolen from them, right? Their memories are literally extracted so that they can forever bring souls into the Shadowlands. So they never risk the cycle being broken. The cycle is kept in check because they can't remember who the fuck they were in life. Now, there's a couple of things that really stand out to me in this that just solidifies my position on Carestia the First One. Devos. Devos is led to see the error of their ways through Uther. Uther can't let go of his memories, and he can't let go of his memories because of the Mournblade, the wound that is left in his soul. Through these memories, Devos realized that something is wrong. The cycle isn't the way that it should be. Their belief that Zuval is inside the maw and that the cycle is perfect and pure is a problem, because it's clearly not perfect and pure. But Devos goes further. When Devos fights Carestia, she explains to Carestia that her eyes were opened when she listened to the words of Zuval, when she learnt about what was done to him so long ago by his brothers and sisters. This is where she realized that Bastion is broken and should not exist. What did he tell her? Did he tell her the stories that we were told? Is that why she saw the flaw in Bastion? Or did he tell her something else? Is what we were told about him being overthrown even true? Is what the Primus tells us about Zuval even true? The Primus tells us that Zuval wants to dominate the whole universe and wants to basically destroy all life. Is that even true? If Devos herself, a devoted paragon, right, she wasn't actually a paragon, but if she herself was corrupted by the words of Zuval, can we trust anything that's being told to us about Zuval? Could it be that we're all mistaken. That what he wants to do is actually what we're being told, right? She was a paragon, but the fact that she fell sort of makes me think she may not have been like the other paragons, Tabasik, because if I look at all of the other paragons, they question nothing. Like, even throughout the whole Devos thing, they believe, right? So there must have been something special about Devos in order to get her to see the flaw in the first place, if that makes sense. Like, this is why I said I don't have answers to all of this. This is just questions that I'm raising because I don't have the answers, right? But okay, so let's move on from Carestia, the firstborn. Her realm is completely and utterly bullshit. It should not exist. Her realm is wrong. Let's move to the Primus. From day one, I have had many questions about the Primus, but my major question about the Primus is his ability to see all truths. We're told that this is why he is a master tactician. We're told that he can plan every battle because he went to someone who taught him how to see every single truth. We know of only one entity in our universe that can do that. That's the Void Lords. So what you're telling me is that the Primus went to the Void to learn how to be a better a better tactician. This is where my theory about Zuval comes in, and that's a video that I'm busy writing at the moment. I'm literally in the process of writing the script as we speak. Just quickly show you guys this. So I'm in the process of writing The Light Enemy of All. A lot of it is about Zuval and specifically talking about the light. Now, it seems to me, and I'll give you guys a little bit of insight here. It seems to me that Zuval is at war with both the light and the void for whatever reason. Now, when it comes to the light, I've explained this before, but I'll just recap quickly. Bastion seems like the result of the light's interference with the Shadowlands. Either the light made a deal and Bastion was born as a result of this deal, but the Primus, the fact that the Primus can see all truths mean that the Primus may have made a deal with the Void, and this might be the very reason Zuval is at war with both the Light and the Void. And in order to explain what I mean with Zuval being at war with both the Light and the Void, let's look at what Zuval has done pretty much from the beginning of our lore, at least. Zuval seems to have a personal gripe with the Light. As soon as he sees Anduin using the light in the Maw, he's fascinated with him. Lich Kings. He had 2 Lich Kings, both of which, well, he had 3 Lich Kings, but 2 of them is of the light. He never chose the first one. So he didn't make the choice for Ner'zhul. Ner'zhul's choice was made on his behalf. The 2 he chose were both paladins. They were users of the light. Why? He uses the Sunwell to bring back Kalthazard. Surely there were other sources of power that would have been powerful enough to bring back Kalthazard. Why use the Sunwell? And in doing so, almost completely destroying the Sunwell and the people connected to it. Why? What's the point? Odin, a being that is also quite connected to the light, he collects the eye. He wants the Eye of Odin. For what reason? What's the purpose behind this? And then, of course, we have the Void side of things. What did the Nathrezim tell Sargeras? They told him about the Void Lords, how dangerous the Void Lords are. Why? Why the Void? Maybe because Zuval realized he can't fight a battle on 2 fronts? Maybe because Zuval knew he can't fight the light and the void. It's too big of an enemy. But if he could get Sargeras to fight the void, then he could focus on the light. Now, there's more that goes into this theory, but that's not really in the scope of this video. Why would the Primus approach the void to learn how to read and see all truths? Surely the void and death should not have anything in common, and they should not be working together, right? Wait, what about in Bastion, where they store all the memories of living souls? Is the Primus using those to develop his own knowledge? It's stolen from mortals to give him an advantage. Shay, we have no evidence that the Primus has access to those memories. Those memories seem to be only accessible by Bastion, and also by the Paragons of Bastion. So I would be well surprised if the Primus had access to that. What's more likely, and according to everyone that speaks about this, the Primus made a deal with someone, and this someone taught him how to see all truths. So how exactly that happens, I don't know. But let's move on from the Primus. As I already explained, I don't like the Primus. I don't trust the Primus. But now we get to the one being that I don't trust, and I'm not entirely sure why. Although Xiang did have something interesting to add on Twitter. The Winter Queen. I don't know specifically why I don't trust the Winter Queen. I just know that I don't. The Winter Queen seems to hide something. At least from where I'm sitting. Our souls are ground up and used as fertilizer. Balilla actually commented this on my post, so I'll show you guys this. I said, it could be due to bad writing or maybe intentional, but I cannot trust the Eternal One. Something just seems off. For all, I have specific issues that seem sus, except the Winter Queen. With her, it's not something specific, it's just a feeling. What aren't they telling us? And Balilla goes, don't worry, she's just using your mate's souls for fertilizer, no biggie. Which could probably be one of the things I don't like. But then Xiang, who is one of the scribes on the Discord, by the way, he says this. Oh, I have a very specific problem with her. Winter Queen says, there is nothing more to be done here. Return to Oribos, mortal. Your deeds this day will be remembered in the rings. Il'gynoth whispers, your coming was foretold in the rings. The long circle is nearly complete. Something is off. Now, I have a theory sort of existing in my mind about the rings of fate. Where is this? What is it? We could say that it's Oribos, but it would not immediately be... Actually, it would. If you think about the deal that was made between the Primus and the Void, a deal would have to go both ways, right? So maybe the Void said, hey, we'll be more than happy to teach you about, you know, the ways of seeing all truths and realizing that all truths are real, but we want access to fate. We want to be able to see fate. We know that there are fate scribes in Oribos. We also know that the fate scribes have particular influence over the Arbiter. The fate scribes can actually change your fate. If they believe that you're fated to go somewhere else, or they think that the Arbiter might make a mistake, they can actually influence the Arbiter to decide where you should go. So Oribos may in fact be the engines of fate. It might be the rings of fate. It's where the fate of all mortal beings are decided. It's where your future is written before it's even supposed to be written. I genuinely don't know what it is about the Winter Queen. It could be the fact that she says, you know, your deeds will, this day will be remembered in the rings. And it might be similar to Il'gynoth. That could be one of the things that bothers me about the Winter Queen. But more specifically than that, we're not told everything about the Winter Queen. Marasmius says he was there the day that the Winter Queen ordered Ardenweald. He was there actually before the Winter Queen made things. So according to Marasmius, the mushroom fella, there's no difference. Like, according to Marasmius, there's zero difference. Like, he was there first. The Winter Queen didn't make Ardenweald. He was there before the Winter Queen came there. According to the denizens of Ardenweald, the Winter Queen made all of this. And There's just too many contradictions. The only Eternal One I actually trust, like the only Eternal One I actually trust is Denathrius. You want to know why I trust Denathrius? Because he is so obvious in his betrayal. He's so obvious in the fact that he couldn't give two fucks about us. That all he wants is basically to have death reign. It's the only reason I trust him. So the question is, what are they hiding? What are we not being told about the Shadowlands? Could it be that this is just bad writing from Blizzard? That Blizzard just didn't do enough to explain, right, the story? And that's why we're sort of left with this we don't know, because we genuinely don't know? Or is this what Blizzard wanted to write? Did Blizzard decide that this is how they want to write the Eternal Ones? And will we eventually learn that these Eternal Ones are not our friends? Just by the way, you can't trust the Titans either, for all the reasons that we've discussed a million times before. But if you just need one reason, the Titans tells us that they don't know what goes on in the Shadowlands, and yet we have ample evidence that the Titans have been to the Shadowlands. And for like literally just one piece of evidence of this, Raden and his bow. The bow that looks exactly like the bows of Oribos, of Bastion, does exactly the same thing as the bows of Bastion, changes the anima within Raden. And you're telling me the Titans have never been there? Yeah, right. Let's try this again. Right? So no, everyone is lying to us. No one can be trusted. The question is, what is coming next? Makes me think of Lost. They just keep throwing in shit because they don't know where they want to go. I can't say that it's like Lost, right? Because I don't know. Like I said, it could be that Blizzard wants this. This is what they went to write in the first place. It's entirely possible. I just don't... If it's not how they wanted to write it, so if it turns out that these guys are on our side, then yes, it is bad writing.
You look like you've lost some weight. That's terrible. Have a dumpling.
Another strange things about the Winter Queen is that there are parts of Marasmus, that Nightfey mushroom, in Torghast. Why?
I mean, if Marasmus is to be believed, then his kind could be all over the Shadowlands. We might just not see them everywhere, but they could be all over, right? No way to go, but bad at go to it. Not necessarily. Like I said, there is an argument to be made that Blizzard knows exactly where they want to go, and they're still on their way. And as soon as we arrive, we're all going to go, that makes sense now, right? I'm not saying this is a good story, and it's definitely not the way that you should tell the story, but it's possible at least, right? Do you not feel they're stealing big from Wheel of Time right now? All of Shadowlands really has me feeling like they want the hero to be the Dragon Reborn. There seems to be elements of Wheels of Time all over the shifting Cosmos lore. Shay, what was first? The Wheel of Time stuff? I've never watched Wheel of Time. Was Wheel of Time first, or was lore first? Was WoW first, or the Shadowlands first? It's a book series, so it was okay. They did say they would cater a lot more to the speculative side of WoW, so maybe it's not bad writing, just too convoluted. So, I fully understand Blizzard's... If what you're saying, Alex, is true, right? I fully understand why Blizzard is doing it. Speculation is currently the hottest ticket in town. being a speculator in World of Warcraft means crazy views, crazy interaction. People love speculation. But we were doing better with speculation back in Legion when people at least followed the story. You see, the problem is, if true, if what you're saying is true, if it is that Blizzard really wanted to give people stuff to speculate on. So Blizzard liked the idea that people didn't know what was going to happen next, and then, you know, people could speculate on it, it could build hype. Because let's be real, back in Legion, when speculation was actually born for the first time ever, like, there's been speculation in the past, but speculation as a proper piece of content was born. People were extra excited. It added to the hype of the game, because everyone was enthralled in this new type of storytelling. This oh my god, what could happen next? But that should never be something that you as a creator focus on, right? As a developer, as the narrative lead developer for the game, you should not be making your game with the hope of building hype. Especially if you're writing the story, because this is where you'll fail as a writer. Because in movies, we would call this writing for the sequel, right? It's why World of Warcraft the movie failed. Warcraft the movie did not fail because it was a bad movie. It was a pretty decent movie. The problem was that the movie was written so that it could feed a sequel. And so people weren't really bought into the original story. So you lost people in the first one, they're not coming back for the second one. That's the issue. And that's what I feel Blizzard does right now. They're so busy trying to write the next story. Like, they're so busy trying to build hype for the sequel, the next expansion, that they're forgetting that this expansion still needs to happen. And the best way to write hype for the next expansion is to make this expansion really cool. Because that's how I feel at the moment, at least when it comes to World of Warcraft story, is that the whole story feels it feels like they're giving us breadcrumbs so that they can create future expansions using the breadcrumbs that we just got. But it's failing, because by doing this, yeah, sure, maybe you can set up brilliant expansions in the future, but you're failing in this expansion, because I want to know now why I should care, and you're not explaining why I should care. You're not giving me the reasons to care. I don't even like to use the words filler expansion, because I'm paying $15 a month. Well, not at the moment, but I used to pay $15 a month. I should not get filler expansions, right? Those should not exist. Every expansion should have a reason for existing, and I should be able to get enthralled with every expansion. It's the pilot episode of the new story arc. Yeah, but pilot episodes tend to be really fucking good, right? Especially if it's a show that's going to work in the long run. A pilot episode is meant to build hype, because most pilot episodes aren't just written to sell the first episode. Most pilot episodes is meant to sell the hype. Blizzard isn't selling the hype. They're selling the next expansion. Archeonyx, thank you for the follow, dude. Really appreciate that. Welcome to the channel. Thank you. I just feel like that is, in and of itself, a fundamental failure right now. It feels like it's a failure. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's a lot of you that's sitting there going, Akko, I don't think it's a failure. I think it's working. Mrs. Moken, it's rare, though. It is very rare that you get, like, truly sucky fucking pilot episodes that, you know, just don't work for whatever reason. So I'd be willing to bet that for the vast majority of shows, it wouldn't suck, right? The pilot episode is not going to suck. It's sad that Shadowlands is a failure. For me, it's very sad that Shadowlands is a failure, because it doesn't have to be. Shadowlands have so much cool shit that if Blizzard just spent some time, it could easily be one of the best expansions. It could easily be one of the best expansions if Blizzard was just willing to spend some fucking time on it. Sorry, I'm just quickly penning a comment here. Alright. The focus pose. Yeah, I was just typing something on the new video that I just released. Alright. Peace all, have a great day. Raid Collectors, take care of yourself, bro. Just hope Shadowlands doesn't turn into another content drought expansion like what was. It won't. Other Denuthos projects were commercial failures aimed at pushing the IP to transmedia direction, reboot of EverQuest lore, 38 studio stuff. Minius 1, wait, what? Can you send me that information in Discord, please? The stuff about Denuthos and his failed projects. Like, if you could send that to me in Discord, because that would make a very good expose. That would make a very good expose. Like, I'm already writing that script in my mind. Like, as I'm thinking about it, I'm already writing the script in my mind. All right, let's see here. The 7 deadly sins of, we have the 7 deadly sins of MMO design, number 2, gluttony, feature creep. And the thumbnail for this video is literally pandas. So I'm really interested in this because this is a discussion we've had before, right? World of Warcraft has this issue with feature creep. That's almost impossible to believe that they have this problem, considering that every expansion, the features are removed and new features are dreamt up. But for some reason, these features that they add to every new expansion just feels more and more and more. The news of transmedia? I've never heard of this in my life. Oh, transmedia is just when you're literally designing things for multiple media sources. I don't know. So he's writing a story for WoW the game, but then keeping things open so that he can also bring out a book, so he can also bring out a short story, and so that he can also bring out a cinematic. Right? So he's basically designing the story so that they can attack it from all fucking sides.
Massively multiplayer online role-playing games, one of the greatest genres ever created. Hundreds of games, thousands of hours, and millions of players. The online gaming world is busier now than it's ever been, and the range of games available means no matter what kind of adventure you want to have, you will be able to find it. But these games...
Something that I wanted to say in the first video that we watched, there is a part of me that believes that MMOs, in many ways, will be the future of the gaming industry, be it for indie companies, but it feels like more and more people want persistent worlds. People want worlds in which they can hang out as long as they want, and there's always something new coming, right? multimedia wouldn't necessarily, because multimedia is very different, right? Multimedia is a different definition. So transmedia is the most fitting description of it. Wait a second, hold up. We have something here. Apocalypse. Trying to investigate this further because it's been itching at part of my brain. Some people seem to be convinced it's some client to computer issue. I've never had this issue before. I can easily reproduce it, and my computer specs internet actually aren't bad. I think I found one or more obscure bugs in the PTR. Oh, I actually saw this. But it has to just be a bug, right? It has to just be a bug. Like, this isn't... I've seen people trying to make this a big deal when... Yeah, I don't think it's a big deal. It's just an invisible wall. There's always some of these, right? It extends into the Eversong now. Huh. It may really just be an invisible wall, a bug that... It could be that Blizzard is working on redesigning Silvermoon, right? That's entirely possible. Could be that they're redeveloping and updating Silvermoon so that they can allow flying there, right? That is possible, although I don't think so. I don't think so.
Aren't without their flaws, so in this series, let's examine the 7 deadly sins of MMO design. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I'm Josh Strive-Hayes. I've been playing and analysing MMO games on YouTube for several years now, and over that time I've come to notice some constants in the development cycle, small things that even big games can do, which really damage the overall experience. So let's analyse the second sin of MMO gaming: gluttony, or feature creep. Before we begin, please consider dropping a like on the video or subbing to the channel and ringing the bell so you don't miss...
Before we even get into it, let me just say, I think feature creep is, like, he's put it at number 2. I actually think it's the biggest killer of MMOs, right? Because when you have something like feature creep, you risk watering down your game, right? You risk reaching a point where the game itself just no longer really makes sense. There's just too much, and everything just feels a little bit worse for wear. Right? You no longer know why things are important because there's just too much of everything, and also things get too big, and it's at that point that you sort of have to either remove a bunch of features or watch your game just die as people start suffering from analysis paralysis and things like that.
Miss a future video, and a massive thank you to all my supporters on Patreon and Twitch who make all my content possible. Right, let's do this. Gluttony, continuous or excessive consumption. I'm making these videos around Christmas time, so we can all be pretty sure what gluttony is. It's just having one more mince.
I don't care that it's the second thing on the sin list, Alex. It's important enough that it should have been put last. Like, this is where I would have made a choice to put it last. Because it would be that thing of last, but very much not least, the most important thing, gluttony. Because at the end of the day, it's also about perception, right? When you put something second on a list, it's almost always going to be viewed as less important than anything else.
Pie, just one more chocolate, just one more slice of turkey. Gluttony is an interesting sin, as you have to be in a position of affluence to even consider it. You're only able to eat too much food if you have too much food, or drink too much drink if you have too much drink. So how does gluttony tie in with MMO design? Well, it's the aspect of too
The frame rates on this video is insane.
much, of having more than you need and filling yourself up. With food, you'd eat a lot of useless junk and empty calories. In games, you'd add a lot of useless features and empty systems. We call this feature creep, or feature bloat. To understand how this happens, we need to understand basic game design and then expand from there. So let's...
I actually think it's more than that. So he is literally just going off of which I don't disagree with. I'm not disagreeing with this at all. But I think he's going off of the simple thing of you want to make a game, right? And so you add a bunch of features that basically mean nothing, right? The features are just there because they're there. Yes, that is one massive problem, and there's a lot of games that suffer from it. But feature creep can also be also damaging to a game, as I explained at the beginning, where, say, every expansion, because he is talking about MMOs, you add another feature. And eventually, it's not that these features are bad, they're pretty good features, but with every single feature expanding and also new features being added, you get to a point where there's so many features and so much expansion that even the good features now start to become less good because they're either too big, so it would take too long to get into them to get to the current point of where they should be, or there's so much choice that you fail to make a choice. And for those of you that don't know how that would work, there's a thing called, it's a psychological phenomena called analysis paralysis. They actually did a study in a supermarket where they offered people like a shit ton of choices. And what they found is with too much choice, people end up making no choice because you're standing in front of the cereal aisle, you're looking at 32 different types of cereal, and your brain goes into a loop where it can't establish which one of these cereals is the best. So you decide, I'll take Wheat Bix, right? Or Weetabix or whatever, or Cheerios. But then your brain instantly goes, wait, if I choose Cheerios, I am missing out on 31 other choices of cereal. So then the combined loss of 31 other types of cereal is more than the gain of Cheerios. And this is where your brain goes into an eternal loop of analysis paralysis, where your brain can't make the decision because choosing Cheerios means losing 31 others. Choosing another one means losing Cheerios and 31 others. So eventually people just don't make a choice. They just leave because it's too much. This is what too many features in the game can also be, is just overwhelming the individual who is trying to play the game.
Let's take a look at some simple offline games, then relate those design concepts to MMOs. Let's look at Portal, one of my favourite games. It's a first...
If you've never played Portal, you have to do yourself a favour. On your own, pretty good game. With a friend, so if it's you and someone else playing it, one of the most fun games you can fucking play. It is incredibly fun.
Person puzzle where you solve 3D mazes by creating two connected portals within self-contained rooms. Let's look at the core gameplay mechanic, placing portals on surfaces. This is the very essence of the game. You cannot remove this element. The core gameplay loop is make portals. Now there are a bunch of other features. Pick up objects, avoid gunfire, momentum, but the very base game is make portals. How about Dark Souls? Large boss fights and journeying through a land. That's essentially it. The core mechanics you need to finish the game are movement and combat. There are a bunch of other features, like rolling, jumping, blocking, parrying, weapon upgrading, armor swapping, healing items, hidden character plots, but they're all additional features. Yes, they're important to the overall tone of the game, but you only need movement and combat to finish the game. Now with these games, Portal and Dark Souls, the additional features have been carefully added to enhance the main mechanic. Creating portals is more varied when certain surfaces can't be portaled on. Fighting enemies is more varied when you can change weapons.
I like the direction that he's going in here. I do like the direction. I think he's explaining it better than I could. Even if I had like 10 minutes to try and explain it, it's a good explanation, right? You should always try to, and it's one of the things I sort of highlighted in my most recent video on the Skeptic Orc, right? Where I said, you have to decide what is the core player promises that you're busy making, right? And then everything you add after that enhances the core player promise. It can never stand in lieu of the core player promise, or in the worst possible scenario, literally impact the player promise that you made in a negative way.
The features the game have enhance the central loop. everything serves to make the core experience more fleshed out and so make the games better. Now let's look at MMOs. The most common journey is travel through a land, gain experience points, and become more powerful. That's basically it for every MMO. The way you choose to do that can be up to you. The features added to the games can increase the ways you gain experience, such as through fishing, woodcutting, mining, smithing, enchanting, gathering, farming, questing, or combat. The features MMO games develop are always based around their core mechanics. Each feature simply enhances the journey around and gain experience loop. New ways to teleport? Well, they're enhancing the journeying. New ways to gain experience or new...
You can almost immediately start thinking about things in World of Warcraft that doesn't do that, right? If I asked all of you right now in chat, okay, chat, can you think of a feature in World of Warcraft that doesn't really enhance the core promise of World of Warcraft? Like, it doesn't enhance what you were promised to begin with, right? Profession's actually a very interesting one, Evie, because Professions used to enhance the core promise, right? But it no longer does. Foul Smoke, I would actually agree with that 100%. Time gating is perhaps the biggest feature that Blizzard have, and it's literally the one feature that completely removes the core promise. The idea of traveling through a land, getting more powerful, unlocking more of the story, seeing more of the story, and then you have this time gate that just stops you. Just boom. You can't go any further until next week. It makes no sense. It removes the ability, and you're effectively just left not even being capable of doing anything, right? Because you're out of time this week.
Skills to do, they're enhancing the experience gaining element. And the reason it's great to add features that enhance the main loop is because that feature will then always be relevant. If your core game...
I do want to say, though, I think my biggest gripe with time gating isn't so much that it stands against the core promise of World of Warcraft. My core gripe, my biggest gripe with time gating is that it exists to hide laziness. Blizzard is too lazy or too time constrained to make enough content for a single 6-month patch cycle. And so Blizzard decides to add time gating in order to artificially lengthen the amount or stretch the amount of content that they have. This would be the equivalent of me making a video, right? But I want the video to be 8 minutes long. The video is 6 minutes long. I don't have 2 minutes extra content. So what I do is I add a bunch of useless footage into the video where I'm not talking, it's just useless footage to try and pad it to 8 minutes so that I can put ads on it. People would immediately notice. People would immediately go, bro, why did you have all that like game footage in your fucking video? Like, the game footage didn't add anything to the video. You weren't speaking whilst the game footage was going. Or I take a second break in between every single word that I'm saying so that I can get to 8 minutes. Most people would immediately go, dude, what the fuck are you doing? This is horrible to listen to. This isn't fun. This is what the hell is this? That's what time gating is to me. That's the thing that pisses me off about time gating. It's needless it's needless padding. They're padding the content because they don't have enough content.
Game is basically journey around and gain experience, then anything that relates to journeying or gaining experience will always be useful to someone because they relate directly back to the essence of the game. But there are 4...
if you're doing that, Zarconix, what I will do is I will make it 4 seconds between every word so that you're still getting 1 second between every single fucking word. Gotta pad the numbers, bro. Gotta pad the fucking numbers. No, I mean, at the end of the day, it's such a slap in the face of the consumer that is hoping and wanting to get good content, right? And yet they're not getting it, right? They're not getting it because you don't have enough of it. And so we're adding these gates so that we can lengthen it to, say, 2 months of content, even though you don't actually have 2 months of content. You have less than a day's worth of content, and we've done the math before, right? We have done the math before.
4 main instances when adding a feature may be counterproductive. When that new feature doesn't relate to the main gameplay loop, when the new feature makes other existing features irrelevant, when a new feature makes other features irrelevant. What do we have just very recently in 9.1? A feature that was added to the game that immediately made other features at least partly irrelevant. Domination shards and domination gear. Instantly, a whole bunch of players realized that the work that they had put into their legendaries had just been completely destroyed. Like, all of that work was for naught. They may as well not have done it, because the domination gear has now taken the position in the gearing slot of the legendary that they had farmed. I mean, this is... If YouTubers can figure this shit out, right? If YouTubers can look at this and go, you should not have a new feature that makes other features irrelevant, then, you know, you have a fucking problem when the game literally does that. Feature has a limited shelf life by design and is guaranteed to eventually become...
Listen to the next thing he says here and tell me which game comes to fucking mind.
When the new feature makes other existing features irrelevant, when the new feature has a limited shelf life by design and is guaranteed to eventually become redundant.
Can you think of a game that's like that? I'm trying to think. I can't, the word just will not come to me. I'm sure I've played a game like this where everything is designed to basically be removed. No one in chat? So you guys can... No one can think of anything? It'll come to me, I'm sure. It'll fucking come to me.
Or when a vast amount of variables are added simply to confuse the players and increase design complexity. If a game receives an update which adds a new feature that either isn't related to the main gameplay mechanics, makes something else irrelevant, is guaranteed to become irrelevant itself, or is purposely too complex to understand, then that feature isn't enhancing the game. It's simply contributing to feature creep. Feature creep can include mini-games and distractions within the game that have no reason to be played. For example, in old school RuneScape there's a mini-game called Trouble Brewing, where 2 teams compete to brew some beer faster than the other. The rewards are some pirate costumes or an item which can increase your chance in the regular game of beer being more valuable. Well, because no one wanted the costumes or brews in-game beer, this minigame is absolutely dead. It doesn't relate to RuneScape's main themes of journeying and gaining experience, so it's now a useless feature. Feature bloat can include skills or...
You see, I sort of don't agree with what he just said there. Because if it's a minigame within the game, so it's a game within the game, that doesn't impact the rest of the game whatsoever, it has no real reason for existing other than people may want to do it, I don't really see that as feature creep, because it's as easy as just not doing it for you not to deal with it. there might be people who like doing it, right? Now, I'm not saying that every minigame is going to hit. You could have minigames within the game that just completely fall flat, and that was time wasted on development of a system that no one is going to interact with. But Final Fantasy have a bunch of these. Take the gambling, for example. Take Chocobo Racing, for example. Take Palace of the Dead, or even Heavens on High. Even Glamour, to some extent. These are features, mini-games within the game that have very little to do with the actual game, or even with your ability to grow in the actual game. And yet, they exist as something for players who want to partake in it to partake in it. So I actually don't agree with his example here. I agree with his premise. I just think the example might be the wrong thing. What would have made this feature creep and also bad is if this was somehow linked to the game. So in order to continue with the game, you had to do some brewing. That would have been a problem.
Abilities that have a better or more useful version of themselves become available. If you were playing a game and used a healing spell that healed 90 health, but then they released a new spell with exactly the same requirements, the same mana cost that healed 90 and cured poison and made you faster for a few seconds, you'd go with that version. This new spell has made the old spell irrelevant, resulting in extra skills that are in the game and take up space in your ability book only to never be used. That is feature bloat. How about adding extra character stats to track more variables, strength and defense?
I feel like this can also be said for talents in World of Warcraft. Not so much that there are talents that basically just negate other talents, but there are talents that exist in World of Warcraft simply so that there are 3 options in a row. The talents themselves will never be picked up. There's no reason to play those talents. They exist purely to exist, to make sure that there's 3 options in the row. And I can immediately see the frustration, because once you start looking deeper, so if you're a player that doesn't really think about these things, you just go, well, I have choices. I've never made those 2 choices, but I do have those choices if I want those choices. But as soon as you start looking deeper, you very quickly realize, wait a second, I don't have 2 choices here. I don't have 3 choices. I have 1 choice. 2 of these choices are dead choices to me.
Defense might be too simple. You now need magical defense or melee defense. But what about magical fire defense, magical ice defense, magical lightning defense, defense against evil or good? What about magical lightning defense while jumping, while in cover, while casting an ability?
Jesus.
MMOs track many character aspects, and slowly but surely games will add more over time to give the illusion of progression, which results in far too many numbers for a player to keep track of, or those numbers consistently going up. The worst example of feature bloat is when a game adds an entire new system or subsystem that is either overly complex and simply designed to confuse players into spending money, or is designed to become outdated once a new expansion is released and only serves as a stopgap to
Again, we're coming back to which game do we know that does exactly this? World of Warcraft. Every single expansion, they have these systems that is ridiculously complex. Not always overly complex, because I don't think anyone would accuse Azerite armor of being overly complex, right? But it was a complexity within the game that required people to go outside of the game to figure out what it is that was their best item, and it was always going to be retired at the end of the expansion. So why does it exist? You're making a system that players have to keep track of and have to learn. This, by the way, is one of the things that annoys me most about World of Warcraft. When I was still a hardcore raider, the thing that pissed me off more than anything else would be this. I spent an entire expansion learning about a system, learning the ins and outs, the fine-tuning. I eventually could choose my gear without even going to something like Mr. Raidbot, or Ask Mr. Robot, Ask Mr. Robot. I could eventually do it without going to Ask Mr. Robot, because I knew the system. I understood the system fundamentally. I understood the mathematics behind the system, so I knew at a glance exactly what was an upgrade for me. And then next expansion, I have to learn from scratch. I'm starting again because this is now a brand new system that I have to learn, which again will be retired at the end of the expansion.
Distract players for a while. So let's examine those. This garish monstrosity of a game is League of Angels. It's everything that's wrong with the gaming industry, and even having this installed on my PC to get this footage made other games on it worse. But just look at this. Each icon is a new system. Your mount level, your armor enhancement, your item level,
Isn't this a mobile game? It looks like a fucking mobile game, this.
your battle rating, your angel team setup, your legendary item collection. At its core, this game is sit back and watch while the game autoplays itself, but it is full of systems that only exist to add unnecessary complexity, and each of these systems is obtusely difficult to understand and can slowly be improved by spending money. This is a prime example of a game filling itself with so many features just so
I feel like this is something that exists within MMO, within mobile games. Oh, it was a Facebook game. Okay. That makes sense. This is something that exists in mobile games, and of course, it's only meant to get people to spend money, because mobile games are shit. People shouldn't play mobile games. No one should support the mobile industry, because they're all like this. They're meant to steal money from you.
so the player cannot possibly understand them all, and will never ever be able to maximize their character without simply spending money. But using League of Angels is almost cheating, so how about World of Warcraft? In the Warlords of Draenor expansion, you had your garrison, a base camp where you could send out NPCs on missions and find items to restore the glory of either the Horde or the Alliance. Then Legion came out, and while garrisons were still a thing, they suddenly didn't matter as much, because now it was all about restoring your artifact weapon, which was the most important thing to do. Then Battle for Azeroth happened, and Legion artifact weapons didn't matter at all, and restoring your Heart of Azeroth necklace was what really mattered. Then Shadowlands happened, and the Heart of Azeroth necklace we'd spent so long upgrading, we cast away because new systems existed and we needed to focus on them. World of Warcraft Retail is a prime example of a game releasing a new system with every expansion, not only not tied to the main gameplay loop of adventure and gain experience, but also specifically designed to become outdated once the next expansion rolls round. World of Warcraft also recently had a giant stat squish and has completely redesigned the opening section of the game and the leveling process just to try and deal with its own excessive feature creep. The issue with feature creep is twofold. Firstly, it creates a game environment where you cannot rely on the system you enjoy being permanent. You may find rebuilding a city or restoring a weapon great fun.
What's interesting to me about mobile games, and I realize this isn't about mobile games, but what is interesting to me about mobile games is how shiny everything is. Like, they design mobile games to mimic a casino. Like, it's been found, psychologically speaking, the reason people are likely to spend money in casinos has to do with the lighting, it has to do with the size, it has to do with where things are placed. Like, there's an entire psychological field dedicated to finding the optimal way of getting people to spend money inside casinos. And mobile games, they all have these, like, look at every single border fucking flashing the whole time. The game is flashing the whole time. It's just flash lights everywhere, and it gets you to spend money. Everything is big. Whenever you get something that's huge, it's in your face. Like, oh my God, you just got this thing. So now I want to spend money because I want that. Oh my God, I got this thing again. It's disgusting.
But come the next expansion, this feature may be removed. You as a player cannot get invested in any element without the constant worry of when will this be taken away from me. The enjoyment you have while playing is always soured by the thought at the back of your mind. The thought saying, this won't last. The second issue with feature creep is while it may have happened slowly for long-term players and new systems are easy to adapt to if you're...
I feel like he's not played this game once. All he does is click on different fucking menus and claim different rewards. It's like, you don't do shit. You just basically, like, watch the game being played and you click on rewards.
Given time, it's extremely overwhelming for newer players who start the game and are instantly hit with way too many systems and way too many numbers and variables, and all of them matter and all of them must be mastered and they somehow all relate to each other. Maybe you played classic RuneScape or old school RuneScape back in the day and this is the user interface you are used to. Well, if you log into RuneScape 3, this is what you'll see. Just look at this chat options panel. There are so many forms of chat and even multiple forms of group, clan or guild chat, including main clan, friends clan, guest clan. This is an intimidating user interface to be greeted with as a first-time player. By comparison, this is what the Elder Scrolls Online looks like. Much more simple, much more minimalist. More features doesn't...
I feel like you should always remember, especially with game design, less is more. Right? This is where you literally get to that kiss. Keep it simple, stupid. You should always design your game for the lowest common denominator. So you should always imagine that there is morons that's playing your game. Like there's going to be morons that play your game. And if there are morons that's playing your game, then you should design the game for them. You should know that they can also play your game. As soon as you make things too complicated, you risk losing so much of what MMOs are supposed to be. Adventures with your friends.
Doesn't mean a better game, especially when those features don't relate to the actual core gameplay loop or enhance the main experience, or those features become outclassed or outdated and irrelevant, or worse, they have a limited shelf life by design, meaning time invested in them will eventually always be wasted. Feature creep, to relate it back to Christmas, is like buying a new set of Christmas decorations for your tree every year, making it fuller and fuller and taking up all the branch space and completely overwhelming anyone who looks at it and not realizing the tree itself is starting to break down and decay. Sometimes designers need to stop adding new things and refine the
I'll give you guys an example of this happening not only in gaming, but also just in general design, right? So software design, if you're a software developer. My brothers work for companies. They do data analysis, yeah? And they build dashboards for people to basically keep track. So if you want to keep track how much profit you made, if you're a mine, you want to keep track of how many diamonds you're extracting every single day, things like that. And very often, you get into this design, right? The guy wants to see a whole list of different things, and you design everything for him, and the guy hates it. He can't stand the design. It's like, but we gave you everything that you wanted. And oftentimes, when they boil it down, the guy wanted so many things that the physical design of the dashboard is overcomplicated. Like, you have to click on so many different things to get to the thing that you want to see, because all of those things are related to the thing that you want to see. And so they have to spend a lot of time redeveloping the dashboard to make it easier, so that it's more simplistic, but it still gives the same information. You have things like a good example of this for Final Fantasy is their overcomplicated account design page. Like, trying to make an account on Final Fantasy is, in and of itself, a mini fucking game, right? For some people, it takes hours just to get their account created because you've overcomplicated the system. You've made it so complicated. The players don't know, how am I supposed to give you my money? I don't even know how to fucking start giving you my money.
Base game first. Make the core gameplay loop as good as it can be before applying additional features. Then, please make sure those additional features actually relate to the core gameplay loop of your game, otherwise players will eventually forget them and your game will become bloated. This is also why games like old school RuneScape, Warcraft Classic, or private servers of older builds of many MMOs still flourish to this day, because while they may have fewer features, the features they do have are all built to enhance the core gameplay loop.
If you go back to when Blizzard announced World of Warcraft Classic, the main reason the vast majority of players were excited was because of simplicity. It was the fact that in World of Warcraft Classic, you had really only one way of playing the game, right? It was go out there, kill mobs, collect gear, kill more mobs. That was it. That was the gameplay loop. There was nothing weird. There was no borrow systems or borrow power systems. There was nothing that really took away from the core gameplay loop, which was to get in and play some video games. Blizzard needs to learn from Classic. I said this when Classic came out and the success of Classic. I said, Blizzard, learn from this. Why are players so excited for this? Because of its simplicity. Because it's on the nose simplistic. Just take what you're already doing and just do that again.
Not simply take up space. The second sin of MMO design, gluttony. Adding so many extra features to your game, you drown out the core gameplay loop, resulting in feature creep. Thanks for watching. Another huge thank you.
All right, what do you guys think? Agree or disagree with everything that was just said there? What does chat think? I'm assuming most of you agreed. With at least, I'd say 75% at least. Silverhammer, how you doing? Thank you for the first time chat, dude. Really appreciate that. I think it's sad that we're in this space with World of Warcraft specifically. That the players and the developers seem to be at odds of what the players want. That to me is the saddest thing. It's that's just doomed, right? If you once the developers and the players seem to have two different opinions on how the game should fundamentally be played, aren't you then just doomed as a game? We are at war. Well, I don't like to use the word war because I'm not at war with the developers. I'm at a point where I go, yeah, sure. If you keep doing that, I'll just keep not playing. The videos of this content creator seem bloated. It does not require the time they use to deliver the message. Minius one, I don't necessarily agree. I love his explanations and also what you have to understand when it comes to content creation. Less is more, but sometimes more is more. So I made this mistake quite often in the beginning of my channel, where I would say something assuming that the viewers will be able to connect the points that I'm trying to make. So I'll say one thing and it will automatically connect to 2 or 3 other things, and I'll assume that the viewers understand these things will be connected. And then my comment section will be fucking filled with people going, what are you talking about? How is that, like, how does that even matter? And then I have to spend time in the comment section telling people, okay, it matters because of this, 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 and this. And they go, oh, you should have said that. Like, I thought it was fucking obvious. So sometimes as a content creator, it's important to over-explain something rather than under-explain it. Just because a lot of the time, especially with videos like this, you have people that's also what they call inactively listening. So they're watching a video or they're playing a game and they're sort of having you on the side. So there you want to be very careful that you explain it so that they can actually follow along rather than wanting them to infer what it is that you're talking about. I disagree, but mostly just because I think I have a different play style than a lot of other players. I've been playing since vanilla, but I've never really done a lot of the endgame content. I've always been too busy with school, work, etc., and I usually end up spending most of my time playing, just enjoying all of the extra content. Lunesca, I would say that puts you probably in the minority of players, which isn't bad. It's not a wrong way to play, right? Considering the fact that there is no real wrong way to play an MMO. That's the whole point. I think that I've been trying to make for a very long time is Blizzard should stop trying to force people to play a specific way and just allow people to play the game that they want to play, right? So if you don't really partake in any of the endgame content whatsoever, you don't really engage with covenants or with, domination shards or domination gear. you barely do dungeons or raids, then I think WoW is fine. I think WoW is good. But I would say the vast majority of players do engage with some form of endgame. It's not always mythic, right? And not mythic and sort of hardcore PvP, but the vast majority of players engage with something in the endgame. Be it dungeons, be it mythic dungeons, be it raiding normal, maybe even LFR, doing some battlegrounds. They're engaging with some form of the endgame. And as soon as you get into that, that's where that bloat becomes extremely obvious to you. So I fully get that there's people... Look, there's to this day people who have zero issues with World of Warcraft. Zero. They love WoW. They can't understand why people are complaining about the game. And the truth is, that's fine, right? It's fine that you can't understand that, but it's most likely also because you don't actually play the game the way that the rest of the people play it. Right? And so, yeah, what you want from the game, as someone who isn't complaining, who thinks the game is fine, the game is delivering on what it is that you want. If it is a system that you find overly complicated, you just don't involve yourself in the system. But this is why complaints are so important. This is why I'm a huge fan of people complaining about stuff, because I think at the end of the day, complaints help make the game better for everyone. Because not everyone plays the game the same way, and we shouldn't want everyone to play the game the same way. Explain things thoroughly without being super wordy and going on and on about it. It's a hard balance to strike, right? Well, yeah, I'm studying right now and appreciating your over explanations, man. Keep it up. Prince, thank you very much. I'd really appreciate that. I do have a tendency to over explain myself, for which I will not apologize, even though I have people that sort of go, fuck, man, can you just get to the point? I'm like, no. This is my channel. These are my videos. I'll get to the point whenever the fuck I want to get to the point. Until such time, pipe down. Because you do get viewers that's just... how do I put this? You get people that is super demanding. Like, they want things their fucking way, and you will do things their way. And that's usually where I go, no. I don't think I will. I can sometimes get a little bit more like petty about things like that. Like, I have found myself sometimes being extremely petty, which is, yeah, I guess weird, but at the same time, fuck it. Then you can have it your way. True. Like, Alex can literally release everything if he really wanted to. Like, he could remove the entire video if he really wanted to, and I wouldn't have any way of stopping it other than saying, I don't want to. Anyways, what's everyone up to? We won't watch any more of the videos, maybe tomorrow. I'm not sure. Like, these are good videos, but they're not... I feel like a lot of it is very obvious. They're good videos. As content, they're very good videos. But a lot of it is also, like, ridiculously obvious. Logged into Guild Wars 2 for the first time in 8 years. Shit. And what's your take on Guild Wars? Very rarely I cut something out. I've seen where you've cut certain things, Alex, and I know it doesn't happen often, but usually I agree with where you cut it. I sent you a few links I saw, but you'll have to double check the stuff. My English might lead me to misunderstanding stuff, missing things, etc. It would take some effort to extract something useful from it. Hey, I'm no stranger to putting in some effort. Alex, there are times where I can't necessarily remember, like, exactly what I said. And so I watch your edit and I'm like, wow, this is good. Let's go. Right? So I wouldn't notice that you've removed something. But there are times where I specifically remember I said this and then I said that, and that isn't in the video. Like, this and that isn't in the video. This is in, but that isn't. That's where I go, okay, he cut it. Yeah, it doesn't really change anything. The video still hits. Yeah, okay, cool. No problem. What I missed, I love certain aspects of the game. I've it's criminal how little Guild Wars 2 I've played. I spent very little time playing Guild Wars 2. Thinking about if I want to binge play DCUO or Final Fantasy 14 today. I can't binge play shit. I'm going to the gym now, and when I get back, I have to write some scripts. So I'm probably not going to play any games today. Truffle Shuffle, how you doing, brother? Which is usually the case. I can only really play games on Saturdays and some Sundays. Like, I don't really have during the week time, because I'm literally about to get ready for the gym, and then I get home. I usually sit down. I start writing scripts. That's about 3.5, 4 hours. So that it's like 1 a.m. when I'm done with my scripts, and then I'll usually go do some research. So I'll go on Reddit. Go to r/wow and r/wow lore. I'll read some I'll read some posts there. Then I'll go to the WoW forums, and I'll go to MMO Champion forums, and I'll look through those to see if there's anything I can spot of value or worth. And by the time I'm done with that, it's usually time to eat. So I'll go cook something and then eat, brush my teeth, shower, get in bed, and fall asleep. And then it all starts over the next day. I swear to God, I play less games now than what I played back in the day. Like, before I was a content creator, I would play games all night. Like, every day I had off time, I would play games. Now that I'm a content creator, I almost never play fucking games, dude. Oh, thanks, Alex. I'll upload them. I'll upload them tonight. I'll upload them tonight, make them available to the patrons, and then probably tomorrow, the day after, I'll make them public on the channel. I need to play some Sea of Thieves on off-stream day. Truffle Shuffle, I don't even have Sea of Thieves installed on my PC. I didn't like Sea of Thieves, and also I still don't quite understand the reason for Sea of Thieves. If it was a game where you could actually build and it was an actual survival game, I probably would have played it more. I played it during the beta. I wasn't a fan. It was sort of fun for like the first... I'd say it was fun for maybe the first 2-3 hours, and then we realized this is fucking boring. Hey, I'll be let me tell you this. Well, let me say this. I'll download it, and then one Saturday or so, I'll jump in Discord and we can play some Sea of Thieves with everyone on Discord that wants to play Sea of Thieves, and I'll give it a go. We'll see how it goes. Digit, thank you very much for hanging out, dude. Really appreciate it. Take care of yourself, man. Friends on Xbox, and we will get at it. Yeah, I'd be happy. I'd be happy to play games with viewers. I just don't play games on stream. But I'd be happy to play off stream. I think most of the viewers also don't really want me playing games on stream. So it's just easier to not play games, even though I think it would be so much easier to be a game streamer, dude. Like, I wouldn't have to do nearly as much work as I do now if I was a game streamer. Because then I just get on and I play some video games. Whereas now I have to make sure that I have topics to discuss. I usually go through YouTube, adding videos to my watch later list to make sure that we have some videos to react to. It takes a bit of setting up. Valheim was fun, but was being the operative word. I would definitely never become a Phasmophobia streamer. Theseus, never. I would not look forward to any of my streams if I was playing Phasmophobia as a streamer. No, if I'm ever to become a gaming streamer, it would be variety. I can't be bogged down in a single game. Even Final Fantasy, I love the game, but I wouldn't want to be bogged down. It's one of the reasons I've decided that Final Fantasy will only be on Fridays, so I will play it on Fridays, because the last thing I want is to build a community that is only Final Fantasy. So now I'm forced to play fucking Final Fantasy. Even on days where I don't want to, I must. Charity stream where we donate and meet goal to have Akko play Phasma in VR. I don't even own a virtual reality headset, so you promised to make a horror week near Halloween, then we can stream Phasmophobia. Did I fucking promise that? When? I don't remember a promise like that. Bro, I am not playing, like, you can go fuck yourself. Everyone in chat can go fuck themselves. I am not playing Phasmophobia in VR. I am already too fucking scared to play Phasmophobia just on my PC. And you guys want me to play it on VR? Sure, let's watch Akalon shit himself. I'm not doing that. One day, maybe a series where you play different games in search of cool ideas for WoW, etc. might be something to both fit your interest and have a reason to play stuff. I could do that too. I could definitely do that. See, why would you want to make it scarier? It was already fucking scary. It was already scary. I don't know why we would make it scarier. Sure, let's make an already fucking horrifying game more horrifying. I don't get why people like scary games. I'm gonna be honest with you all. I find scary games incredibly fucking nauseating. Like, why can't we just have fun games? Why must we play games that scare the living shit out of us? Animations are chaotic and it's not, for fuck's sake. Yeah, no. Just no. You guys can play on your fucking own. I'm not playing that. To taste how far can scariness be pushed? Still diminishing returns? Well, it will never have diminishing returns for me. Look, I'm being very serious here. I don't want to play fucking scary games, guys. I don't want to play scary games. Give me something fun. Give me something I can laugh. Like, I fucking loved when we streamed, what was it called? Booker, thank you for the follow, dude. Really appreciate that. Welcome to the channel. What was that game called? Where you did the puzzle thingies, like you ran with your little fucking guy and your guy was completely useless and horrible and you had to overcome these obstacle courses. I can't remember what the game is called. I love that game. Fall Guys, yeah. Fall Guys was so fun. Games like that, awesome, fun, wholesome, fun for the whole family. Phasmophobia, miserable fucking cunt title. I don't want to play that. I don't want to be scared. Give me a nice story. Give me something to dive into. Yeah, sure, no problem. But don't scare me. I don't like being scared. Only hackers play it now. I can imagine. Like, that game came and gone very quickly. Like, people were playing it for a while, and then everyone just sort of immediately stopped. I do feel a little bit sorry for the developers of that game. Like, Quest 2. Let's first get to Cape Town before we start fundraising for all sorts of needless, useless stuff. I want to get to Cape Town first. Then we can start thinking about getting a VR headset, which I hate, by the way, because I think VR gaming is an absolute fucking fad.
That's terrible. Have a dumpling.
I hope Torghast is made into a horror mini-game. Like the horror players feel is the same feeling those really in Torghast are having.
It could never work in WoW. You'll never be able to make a scary thing out of WoW. Yeah, but, I mean, do bots in Hearthstone really destroy the game? I don't think so. Pushed onto us for so long. The fact of the matter is, a lot of people like making games in VR because I think it's a massive challenge for developers to make VR games. But I do believe that VR in and of itself is a fad. I don't think VR is ever going to be a great game or a great gaming experience. It has far too many drawbacks. For example, I almost guarantee you I won't be able to play VR games that much. So I get motion sickness. If I sit in the back of a car, I can't read. I can't fucking be on my phone. I have to basically look out the front window, so I have to sit sort of awkwardly. Otherwise, I get motion sickness. And even if I'm not doing any of those things and I'm just sitting there, after a while I get headaches and I don't feel well. So at the end of the day, I just think I wouldn't like VR games to begin with. Like, the motion sickness would be too much for me. I used to love going to carnivals and going on the swings. I don't know if you guys know. Everyone should know what the swings are, right? It's like you sit in these little swings and it goes round and round and round. Until, like, and this happened just suddenly. I was in love with those things. I would do them fucking all day, every day. And then just one year, we went to the carnival. Because in South Africa, we don't really have... Like, most of the places don't really have static carnivals. Gold Reef City is one of the few places that year-round it's a theme park. Most of the time, if you lived in smaller cities or smaller towns, you would have a carnival once a year, and you'd go on the rides. And it was just 1 year. I went on the swings, like my first ride, and I ruined my entire fucking day. I had all these plans to go on all these different rides. I went on one swing, and I wanted to throw up the entire fucking day. I was so ill. And that's the day I realized I can't go on these things anymore. What is the Anaconda? It's a I'm assuming it's a roller coaster. One of my favorite things, still to this day, at carnivals is the ship. I love the fucking ship, dude. That it goes up and down. I fucking love that, dude. And I've been on one that goes all the way around. I love that sense of adrenaline. But I have thought before, what happens if this thing gets loose and you just get fucking flopped onto your head in that thing? Like, it just breaks loose and there you go, flying. Like, I've heard stories about Gold Reef City and their rides not being properly kept, so that's why I wouldn't go to Gold Reef City. I wouldn't try my luck. They hold your safety bars down there with elastic bands. Are you Jesus? Yeah, no. I wouldn't go to Gold Reef City anymore. Gold Reef City is sort of cool though, because the whole theme of the place is like the gold rush. like the first gold mines and stuff in South Africa. So it's a pretty cool theme. Just sadly, you know, not safe. To Rotanga Junction now? Is that in Cape Town? Swift Fury, how you doing? So is Rotanga Junction, like, it's the Gold Reef City of Cape Town, or of the Western Cape? Is it still good, or not really? I was super skinny, and I'd get on rides with pull-down bars, and it was like 4 to a row, 3 fatties and me, get the Comatose ride controller, who'd come by, make sure the bar was locked, and that's it. Jesus. There's no more? Oh, was it closed down? Gotta go. See you all next time. Serena, take care of yourself. Thank you much for hanging out. Would get to an edge and I'd stand up. Oh my god, no. That would be horrible. Why did it close down? Was it just not making money? I feel like South Africans aren't big on theme parks. Maybe that's why they're not making as much money. Because I don't know of many South Africans that really go to theme parks. They're not that huge here. Like, I feel if there was a Disney World in South Africa, it would probably go bankrupt. On Big on Water, bro? We had in Polokwane, where I grew up, we had a Waterland. It was literally called Waterland, and it was like this place with just water slides and rides and stuff. We used to go there all the time, and then we went there when I was like 22, 23 for one of my friend's kids' birthday parties. We went to drink, and the kids went to go on the rides, and one of the kids went down the water slide. They got out of the pool crying. The water slide had literally ripped skin off their fucking legs. That's how badly maintained it was. And I was just like, wow. You guys may as well just close this shit down now. Warmbad. Fucking Warmbad, dude. I remember going there and getting sloshed out of my mind. Matt Barber, thank you for the follow, dude. Really appreciate that. Welcome to the channel. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, Warmbad was like, we only ever went there to get fucking drunk. The last time I went to warm baths, we were set up in a tent in, I think, like section C. And the next morning, the sort of manager of the park came to throw us out of the park. He was like, no, you guys are making far too much noise, because we didn't even set up our tents, by the way. We got so drunk, we slept outside because we were too drunk to set up the tent. And the manager of the park came and he wanted to throw us out. And then he recognized me, not from YouTube. He recognized the year before, I was the head of entertainment at the lodge that we were staying at. They hired me to do the singing for like I had a show every night in the dining hall where I would sing for the people and shit like that. So he recognized me and he was like, "Oh my god, you were here last year, head of entertainment." I was like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Okay, I won't throw you out, but you guys have to move to F Block." F Block was in the middle of fucking nowhere, like miles away from everyone else. So we stayed away from everyone else. They had to set up a generator so we could have actual electricity there. And we just kept getting drunk for the whole week in F Block. Entrant, yes. I used to sing. I don't sing anymore. But I used to sing, yeah. When is the last time South Africa had a functioning economy? It was under Thabo Mbeki, actually. We had a pretty good economy under Thabo. Like, I feel like the last great president South Africa has had, or perhaps the second great president South Africa has ever had, was Mr. Mbeki. Like, under Mbeki, we had a surplus. Like, the government was spending less money than it was collecting. The economy was growing over 5% per fucking year. That dude was amazing at running the fucking country. And now it's shit. Now the country is just falling a fucking apart. So, you know, sorry I had to come back shortly for this. What am I coming back to? Or what did you come back to? Alright, let's watch this. Blizzard pulls the ripcord. This is going to be something funny, right? Because only 36 seconds. It has to be something strange here.
The fucking
subs are dropping.
Try to bypass it. What the fuck you think I'm doing? Okay, open the door. Get out of the door. Make a hole. Here. What the fuck's going on? We don't know. Should have blown hours ago. Yeah, but we didn't get the order.
Oh my god. This is so fucking true though. So true, dude. I mean, yes, Blizzard did pull the ripcord here. They didn't have a choice, right? Digit, thank you very much for coming back for this, dude. Really appreciate it. That mug, I didn't even see the mug, living shit show. Bobby Kotick, the devil. I mean, I have to be honest. This is great. But you know, again, I come back to the whole people complaining about Blizzard doing this, and it's just Blizzard panicking. It's like, of course it's Blizzard panicking. What else do you want? Isn't that a good thing? Like, wouldn't you rather Blizzard do these things because they're panicking because people are unsubbing than Blizzard just not doing the things? Like, I mean, the whole point of everyone unsubbing and everyone sort of sticking it to Blizzard was to get them to do these things. Now that Blizzard is doing these things, people are going, yeah, you're only doing it because we unsubbed. Well, then why the fuck did you unsub in the... Like, if you didn't want WoW to get any better, you shouldn't have unsubbed. I'm much confused by some of the people's complaining over these. Like, I get the reason the people are complaining because it's still not enough. And I get the fact that people are, shall we say, cautious about these changes because we don't know if this is going to be persistent or if it's just going to go back to, you know, Blizzard not giving a fuck next expansion. But as things stand at the moment, these are not bad changes, and these are literally the changes that we wanted Blizzard to make. So why are people complaining about changes that we genuinely want Blizzard to make? It's like some people just do not know what happiness is, and they will fight to not feel happy ever. Right? That's what I feel like. There are people that will just go, what is this? You're trying to make me happy? Go fuck yourself. And then they punch themselves in the nuts so they can be angry at something. At the end of the day, good changes are good. Doesn't mean we forgive. Doesn't mean we forget. It doesn't mean we suddenly start throwing our money at Blizzard. It just means good changes are good. It's not bad to have good changes. I unsubbed and gave up on all things WoW because I fell out of love with it. I packed my bags and moved out, like you said, Echo, on the Shill Show. I get it. We're smoking. I think there's a lot of people that might never come back. All the years of Blizz treating the player base the way they did had to erupt somehow. Agreed. There's a similar one with the same dude in the clip saying a-hole to Asman. Yeah, I mean, there's someone gonna put that in, right? Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, it has been a pleasure. It has been an honor to spend the afternoon with all of you. I have to go get ready to go to the gym. So I will see all of you tomorrow. Back here, same place, same time for more shenanigans is really the best I can fucking say. Which was in. Taryn, thank you very much for the follow. Really appreciate that. Welcome to the channel. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I thank you all for being with me. I thank you all for spending your afternoon, your morning, your evening, whatever time of the day it is for you. It has been an absolute pleasure. Take care of yourselves. As always, be kind to each other. Be good to each other. And I will see all of you in the next one. Peace out, fam.